What if all men disappeared tomorrow? If every man and boy vanished from Earth at midnight tonight, humanity wouldn't go extinct immediately. But what would happen in the 72 hours after might surprise you more than the collapse everyone expects. A world without men. Before we begin, let's establish the parameters of this thought experiment, because details matter. At exactly midnight, coordinated universal time, every human with a Y chromosome simply ceases to exist. No violence, no bodies, no trauma for witnesses. They simply aren't there anymore. That means approximately 3.9 billion people, 50.4% of Earth's population, gone in an instant. Every man, every boy, from newborns to the elderly. This includes trans women with XY chromosomes, but not trans men with XX chromosomes, because biology doesn't care about identity in this hypothetical. No one remembers they existed. Wait, no, scratch that. That's a different thought experiment. Everyone does remember. Photos remain, videos remain. The memory of fathers, sons, brothers, husbands, all of it stays. Only the people are gone. This isn't about gender politics. This isn't about who's better or worse. This is about examining what happens when you remove half of humanity instantaneously. And that half happens to occupy specific roles in our current civilization. So let's begin. Hour 1. Chaos in the air. At midnight, there are approximately 5,000 commercial flights in the air at any given moment. Statistically, 94% of commercial airline pilots are male. That means around 4,700 planes suddenly have no one at the controls. Some have female co-pilots who take over immediately, but in hundreds of cases, both pilots are gone. Autopilot can maintain altitude, but it can't land a plane safely without human intervention. We are looking at multiple aviation disasters simultaneously across the globe. But air traffic controllers? About 85% male in most countries. Even the planes with capable pilots now face a secondary nightmare: coordinating emergency landings with skeleton crews managing global airspace. Hour 3. The infrastructure problem. Nuclear power plants. There are 440 operational nuclear reactors worldwide. Engineers and operators are roughly 75 to 80% male in this field. While modern reactors have extensive safety systems, many require active human oversight. Without proper shutdown procedures, we're not looking at Chernobyl-level catastrophes immediately, but several facilities would move into dangerous territory within days without intervention. Naval vessels, especially submarines. Imagine a ballistic missile submarine, 90% male crew, suddenly operated by 10% of its personnel. These vessels carry nuclear weapons and require constant, skilled operation. Hour 12. Communication breakdown. The electrical grid doesn't fail immediately. It's largely automated. But power plant operators, utility workers, and emergency repair technicians are 80 to 90% male in most countries. When something breaks, and something always breaks, response times crater. Cell networks start experiencing outages as maintenance stops. The internet stays up in most places, but it's fragile now. Hour 24. The societal shock sets in. Hospitals are in crisis mode. Doctors are roughly 64% male globally, but this varies by specialty. Surgeons, about 80% male in many countries. Emergency rooms are overwhelmed, not just from the infrastructure accidents, but from the psychological shock. Women worldwide are waking up to find their husbands, fathers, sons simply gone. Children asking where daddy is. The psychological trauma is immeasurable. Suicide hotlines, if they're still staffed, are flooded. And then there's the immediate safety concern. Prisons house primarily male inmates, roughly 93% globally. Guards are majority male too. In some facilities, security has completely collapsed. But here's the thing, most male prisoners are also gone. The chaos is less than you'd think, but some facilities still face riots or mass escapes from the remaining inmates. Month 1. The Scramble. Governments, now led by the surviving women in power, declare states of emergency worldwide. In some countries, this transition is smooth. New Zealand, Germany, nations with existing female leadership maintain relative stability. But in other nations, particularly those where women held fewer positions of power, there's a vacuum. Saudi Arabia, for instance, just lost most of its government and religious authority structure. The social reorganization is unprecedented. Supply chains begin to fracture. Truck drivers are 94% male in the United States. Container ships, cargo pilots, warehouse managers, all heavily male-dominated. Grocery stores start experiencing shortages. Not because food production has stopped, but because getting food from farms to shelves has become logistically complex. Women are rapidly being trained and promoted into critical infrastructure roles, but expertise takes time to build. Month 6. The biological clock starts ticking. Here's where it gets existential. Without men, natural reproduction stops immediately. Yes, we have sperm banks. Estimated global supply of about 600,000 viable samples. Sounds like a lot until you do the math. There are roughly 3.9 billion women left. Even if only 10% want children, that's 390 million. The sperm runs out fast, even with strict rationing. But science offers hope, sort of. Parthenogenesis technology, where an egg is stimulated to develop without sperm, exists in experimental stages. However, it can only produce female offspring. There's also IVG, in vitro gametogenesis, where scientists could theoretically create sperm cells from female bone marrow stem cells. But here's the problem. This technology is still largely theoretical in humans and would take years, maybe decades, to perfect and scale. The biological clock is ticking, and humanity has perhaps 80 to 100 years before the last generation born from stored sperm reaches old age. Year 3. Economic transformation. Industries have completely restructured. Construction, manufacturing, engineering, fields that were 80 to 90% male, are now being staffed by the remaining population. Productivity initially drops by 40 to 50% in these sectors, but gradually recovers as training programs accelerate and automation increases. Interestingly, there's been a boom in AI and robotics development. Necessity breeds innovation. The global economy has contracted by roughly 30%, but it hasn't collapsed. Turns out, women held enough key positions and skills to maintain basic civilization. It's strained, it's transformed, but it's surviving. Year 5. Cultural revolution. Social structures have fundamentally changed. Single motherhood is now just motherhood. The concept of fatherhood exists only in memory and history. Dating culture? Gone. Traditional marriage? Obsolete. Romantic relationships between women have become more common, though many women remain single by choice. The cultural conversation has shifted entirely. Religion faces an identity crisis. Christianity, Islam, Judaism, all with male-centric theology, male prophets, male priesthood structures. Female theologians are reinterpreting texts, while some abandon organized religion entirely. New spiritual movements emerge. Education systems shift. Boys' behavioral issues, which required specific teaching strategies, no longer exist. Classroom dynamics change completely. Some argue education improves in measurability. Others note that the diversity of learning styles has narrowed. Year 10, the Great Debate. By now, the world has stabilized into a new normal. But society faces an existential question. Do we want to bring men back? Scientists announce a breakthrough. They can create artificial Y chromosomes using advanced genetic engineering. Boys could be born again. But the debate is fierce. Some argue humanity needs genetic diversity, that men are essential to our species' survival and cultural richness. Others argue this is an opportunity to build a society without what they see as historically male-driven problems: war, violence, aggression. Crime has dropped by approximately 90%. Men committed the vast majority of violent crimes. But innovation in certain fields has slowed. Risk-taking behavior, for better or worse, was more common in men. Some cutting-edge science and entrepreneurship has diminished. The world is safer, but is it stagnant? That's the question dividing the remaining humanity. But here's what no one predicted: the maternal mental health crisis. Psychologists worldwide report an epidemic of profound grief and depression among mothers. Women who lost sons, especially mothers of young boys, experience a unique, devastating trauma. They didn't just lose their children to death, which has rituals, processes, acceptance. Their children simply stopped existing. Mothers of teenage boys report the worst outcomes. Many develop complicated grief disorders. Support groups form, but the loss is so absolute, so incomprehensible, that traditional therapy struggles to address it. And then there's the sister effect. Women who lost brothers, especially twin sisters who lost twin brothers. The phantom limb of relationship. The person-shaped hole in every family gathering. Society expected infrastructure problems. It prepared for economic restructuring. But no one anticipated the scale of psychological trauma. The collective PTSD of losing half of all humanity doesn't have a precedent. There's no playbook. Suicide rates spike in the first 5 years, particularly among older women who lost lifelong partners. Eventually, they decline. But the mental health industry has become the largest sector of healthcare. And here's the really unexpected part. Some women report relief. Women who were in abusive relationships. Women who lived in oppressive societies. They feel guilt for this relief, which creates its own psychological complexity. The emotional landscape of this new world is far more complicated than simple better or worse. It's just different. Profoundly, irreversibly different. So let's sit with the uncomfortable question this thought experiment raises. If you could press a button right now and prevent the return of men, keep the world as it is in year 10 of this scenario, would you? Your answer reveals something about your values. What do you prioritize? Safety or diversity? Stability or innovation? The elimination of certain harms or the preservation of human complexity in all its messy, contradictory glory? Some would argue that any society built on the absence of half of humanity is fundamentally incomplete. That men and women together create something neither could alone, not because of traditional gender roles, but because human diversity itself is valuable. Others might argue that this hypothetical proves civilization doesn't require men specifically. It requires people, and that gender is less fundamental to human achievement than we've been taught. But here's the deeper question. Would the world you've imagined in this scenario actually come to pass? Or have we, in constructing this thought experiment, revealed our own biases about what men and women are, what they contribute, what they represent? Because in reality, individuals are far more varied than their gender. There are violent women and nurturing men, risk-taking women and cautious men. The hypothetical assumes certain patterns hold at scale, but humans resist patterns. We're gloriously, frustratingly complicated. Perhaps the real insight isn't about men or women at all. Perhaps it's about recognizing that every human being, regardless of gender, is irreplaceable. That we're all interconnected in ways we don't fully understand until someone's gone. The world without men wouldn't just be missing infrastructure operators and pilots. It would be missing individual humans, each with their own quirks, contributions, and connections. And that's what would truly be lost. So tonight, when you go to bed, maybe think about the men in your life, or if you're a man, your own existence, not as a representative of a gender, but as a specific, irreplaceable person. Because in the end, that's what this thought experiment really reveals. We don't miss categories, we miss individuals. What do you think would really happen? What did I get wrong? What unexpected consequences did I miss? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want me to explore the reverse scenario, a world without women, or any other mind-bending hypothetical, leave your suggestions below. The wildest idea might become next week's video. If this made you think, even uncomfortably, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more thought experiments that live rent-free in your brain. Thanks for pondering the impossible with me. I'll see you in the next hypothetical.